Put your hand up if you've been showing up online consistently, creating relatable content, and it still feels like nothing is working. I've been helping brands with this for years, and it almost always comes down to one thing. You may be treating your content calendar as your content strategy. These are not the same thing. A content calendar is a piece of your strategy, but if you don't have the foundation built first, you're gonna keep posting and feel like nothing is building. I'm gonna be honest, getting professional help with this, it ain't cheap. A content strategy is something that I would charge over $2,000 for. But I do have a secret that most businesses don't know. You can build the exact same thing from the ground up with help from AI in less than an hour of your time. I know this because I tested the workflow on my own brand literally right before filming this video. Just under 46 minutes. So save your budget for something else because I'm gonna walk you through how to build a 6-layer personalized content strategy for your brand for free. You're welcome. All of the prompts that you're gonna see me use are linked in the description for free as well, along with a bunch more to help you multiply your creativity once the strategy is locked. Once you build the foundation, you can start experimenting properly and watch your content actually do something for your brand. So let's start with layer 1. If your content is not getting engagement, even though you're showing up, you're posting consistently, but the reactions just aren't there, there's a good chance that you are creating in the most saturated corner of your space. Here's what tends to happen, okay? Most brands approach their content by looking at what their competitors are doing well and trying to do the same thing, maybe slightly better. Well, that is a fast way to be invisible. The competitive research that actually matters is not what everyone in your industry is doing, it's what nobody is doing, because that gap is where you can own something. So this might look like a topic nobody in your niche is covering. It might be an audience segment that nobody is speaking to directly. It might be a format that everyone is ignoring. So maybe your whole space is doing talking head videos and nobody is doing side-by-side comparisons or live walkthroughs. Or it might even be a tone. Maybe every brand in your industry sounds super corporate and polished, and there is a real opening for something more human. And that's another secret. People are loving human these days. Who knew? Now, the gap is not always obvious, and it's almost impossible to find if you've never actually sat down and looked at your space from the outside. So here's what that process looks like. Time starts now. So I'm just gonna make a copy of the prompt template library that I linked in the description of this video. And as you can see, these prompts are template-based. Each one has fields that need your brand information. You can fill these out one by one, but I think there might be a faster way, so let's see if this works. I'm just going to set up an AI agent. Sounds complicated, but it's really not. You can do this with any AI chat tool. I'm just gonna use Claude, and I'll just create a new project. I'll attach my brand guidelines in the file section and just give it some simple instructions. So I'll basically just tell it to use my brand guidelines to fill in the variables on each prompt template, ask for clarification if needed, and run the full analysis. Okay, that is literally our agent set up in a minute. So now I'm going to run this first prompt, the competitive content analysis prompt. What it does is basically audit your content environment and surface where the actual gaps are in your space. Just gonna acknowledge that this looks a little unhinged when it's paced over. I need you to know that that bothers me significantly. Claude, however, does not care at all. The output will look the same either way. So we'll just send that. So it's actually like telling me exactly what it's doing along the way, which is kind of cool. Okay, I just stopped the timer. So that all took just under 3 minutes. As you can see here, the agent has confirmed the variables it pulled from the guidelines. It's looking good. This content opportunity gaps section. This is where the open lane actually shows up. Okay, what else do we have? A full competitive landscape breakdown for each competitor, content themes, platform insights, and creative territories to explore. That's wild. So remember, what is missing is more valuable than what is popular. But finding your gap only gets you so far. If you're filling it for the wrong person, you're still invisible. If your content is performing inconsistently, like you're seeing some posts land, but most don't, and you can't really figure out the pattern, it's probably because you are creating for an average of your audience. You see, most brands would describe their audience as something like small business owners who want to scale faster. That's actually a target market, not an audience. Real strategy maps micro segments, so 3 to 5 distinct groups inside that broad description who have different experience levels, different problems, and completely different reasons to care about what you make. The more specific you get about who you're creating for, the more your content feels like it was made for someone. So here is what mapping your actual audience looks like. So now I'm pasting the audience micro segment content mapper. So this one takes everything it learned in the last prompt and maps out the distinct groups living inside your audience. Okay, so running that one took just over 2 minutes. Now I've got 3 segments based on mindset, which totally makes sense for my brand. For each segment, I got back a full rundown of who they are, a specific content blueprint, and even cross-segment opportunities. I'm impressed. Now you have your landscape and your people. The next question is whether they actually stop when they see your content. So that's layer 3. If people are scrolling past your content, like you can see that you have impressions, so you know they're seeing it, but the clicks and saves just aren't there, the problem is usually not the content itself, it's the hook. I know, you've heard it before, but you see, most people write hooks based on what feels right in the moment, which means they default to safe. And safe hooks don't stop anyone. Think, here's what I wish I knew sooner, or the secret that no one tells you is, you know those ones? Or just go look at my entire online presence in 2022. Perfect examples of what not to do. A hook library is a brand asset. It's a documented bank of angles across different psychological triggers. Most brands write from scratch every single time and wonder why some content takes off and the rest lands flat. So here is how to build your brand's hook library. Let's go. I'm going to use the multi-variant hook generator, and it's going to generate 10 hook variations across different psychological triggers, all tailored to the brand and audience segments that we just mapped. That one took a little bit longer, 4.5 minutes-ish, but worth it because now I have 10 scroll stoppers built specifically for the people that I want to capture with my content. We also got platform-specific guidance for which hooks work where, visual pairing suggestions for each one, and a full map showing which hooks work for which part of the audience. And we are still under 10 minutes. Crazy. Pull from this hook library every time you sit down to create and take notes on which ones work and which ones don't, and then iterate on the hooks that work the best. Your hook is the only thing standing between your content and the scroll. But when it comes to strategy, we don't just want to capture people once, we want to capture them and make them want to come back for more. If you are getting views but not actually building an audience, like people find your stuff, they watch it, maybe even like it, but then they're just gone, the problem is that there is no thread connecting your content. Every piece is standalone, which means that every time someone new finds you, they're finding you for the very first time. Every single time. But when you create a series, it gives people the chance to come back and get familiar with your brand. Here's how to do that. Now I'm going to paste the content series architecture builder. Basically, this one looks at everything we built and turns it into a series. What to make, how it connects, and what it builds towards. So it seems like the time is getting a little bit longer for each prompt, probably because AI has more to work with. But like in 7-8 minutes, it just built a full series. We've got 5 pieces over 8 weeks. This whole series is built on what we found in the first prompt. I have literally been trying to nail this positioning for years, and AI just got there in less than 8 minutes. genuinely unsure how I feel about that. We also got a content hierarchy breakdown and a repeatable copy framework for every piece in the series. Pretty cool. That is the full picture that you need before you even think about what to post. This is when a content calendar actually makes sense. So let's make one. Now, you may already have a content calendar. That's not a problem. Oh, there's Minnie. We have a special guest. The problem is that if you build it without the 4 foundational layers, the calendar is just a list of things to post that have no real relationship to each other. But now you have that foundation, so the calendar becomes the execution plan. Every topic maps to a real segment. Every post has a hook to pull from. Every piece fits into a series. So whether you're starting from scratch or updating what you already have, here is how to get help from AI. At this point, the agent has been holding everything that we built in this conversation. So all I have to do is ask it to pull it together into a 90-day content plan. And if you already have a calendar, you could attach it here as well and just ask it to adapt what you already have. That one took roughly 9 minutes, and now I've got a strategy overview. And then Claude actually built me an interactive calendar widget. So cool. By the way, the output format's gonna be different based on whatever AI tool you use. It may come out as a document or a spreadsheet, but the strategy inside it is the same either way. 43 pieces for the next 90 days, and every single card has a hook embedded from our library, a segment from our audience map, and a platform from our landscape analysis. Now, once you post these, you will want to take notes on the ones that perform well and then double down on them. There's a prompt in the library, the multi-format content automation prompt, and it will take that one idea and turn it into a bunch of content for other platforms. This is what a content calendar looks like when there is actually something underneath it. But knowing what to post is not the same as knowing how to actually produce it. And this is the part that kills most content plans. Now, I'm gonna be honest here. When I looked at this output, I felt overwhelmed. Questions that came to mind were, when am I filming? When am I writing? What can I batch in one session and what needs its own focused block? How long does each type of content actually take to make? Without a production plan, the calendar just stays a document. It does not become a workflow. So let's make it one. Okay, so now I'm just gonna ask AI to use everything that it knows now from this chat and create a production plan with writing, filming, and design tasks. I will include how many people are on the team and how many hours can be allocated for creation. So for me, that is my big, massive, giant team of one person, me. And I would say I have like maybe 3 hours a week, less if possible. Total time for that one, 11, 12-ish minutes. Math is not my strong suit, but. And I have a week-by-week breakdown of every task, a budget bar showing how close each week gets to the 3-hour limit, and even an interactive button to press that will prompt the agent to help prep the week's content. That is where this whole strategy idea comes into play, you know? Okay, now for the final trick. I'm just gonna ask the agent, turn everything in the chat into a comprehensive content strategy document for my brand that I can share with my team. Let's see. And there we go. Just under 46 minutes. That is how long it takes to create a branded, comprehensive content strategy for your business worth over $2,000. Thank me later. Pretty stinking cool, right? Honestly, I was really hoping that this would work, or else this whole video would have fallen apart before I even filmed this part. So we good. We have covered ideation and creation. Distribution and optimization are the next 2 areas, and these are the ones that kick in once your content has had a little time to run. So this means getting it in front of the right people and then figuring out what's working so you can do more of it deliberately. The 20 prompts in the prompt library cover all 4 of these areas. You already know how to use them, so plug them into the same conversation and your agent will have all the context it needs. Here's what actually surprised me about doing this. Not that AI was impressive, but that I have been building this brand for years without ever sitting down and doing any of this. I know this stuff. I do it for a living. I teach it. I just never really applied it to my own thing. That's my own fault. If that's familiar at all, open the prompt library, start at layer 1, and work through them in order. You just watched it happen in under an hour, and now you know exactly how to do it too. If this video helped you figure out why your content hasn't been landing, then give it a like to let me know. And if you want to continue saving your marketing budget, then make sure to subscribe to this channel, HubSpot Marketing, for free tutorials, resources, and best kept secrets to help your brand stay ahead online. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I have been your totally free content strategist. You're welcome. My name is Bridget O'Rourke. Feel free to connect with me online, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.